So the holy grail in ICL surgery is to achieve the right vaulting. So the gold standard in measuring the vaulting and ultimately in measuring what is happening behind the iris, which is considered to be the dark side of the moon, is using the ultrasound. But I will show you how precise we can be just exploiting the OCT technology. So let's look at the literature. The precision for the manufacturer nomogram for the ICL, which is the well-known OCOS, is about is less than 70% actually, in achieving plus minus 250 microns compared to the 500 desired vaulting. If we use some artificial intelligence, we can hit percentages like 90%. So that's the holy grail. If we look at the literature, we know that there are so many formulas out there suggesting us the best sizing for the ICL. As you can see, there is quite scattering between those formulas. But thanks God, the ICL technology is pretty much forgiving. So most of the times, even if we choose the wrong size of the ICL, in one step I mean, we still play safe. So we have the formulas that are based on the white-to-white, we have the formulas that are based on the sulcus to sulcus, and nowadays we also have the formula based on the OCT, such as the Nakamura ones. But as you can see, why there is this huge scattering, no matter if we consider the white-to-white or the sulcus to sulcus or whatever, such as the distance between these scleral spurs, because the white-to-white is only a proxy for the sulcus, and the sulcus itself is only a proxy for the final destination of the lens, which is actually very much difficult to be predicted. I will show you what I mean. So this is an ICL which is positioned in the sulcus. These are ICL half positioned in the sulcus, right here, and the other feet are resting on the ciliary body. And here we can see the ICL with all the feet resting on the ciliary body. And this, on the bottom right, represents 80% of cases. So as you can see, there are so many other factors in the field that we somehow need to try to take into consideration. So why this prediction is so difficult? Because we have only 4 sizes. I don't believe this is the answer. They are probably providing us with a new size, but still, if we have doubt with 4 sizes, having more is not easy. Of course, there are a number of parameters coming into play, and the MS-39, I will show you, is a great player in this because it objectively gives us a lot of numbers, and the more numbers, the more features, the more parameters we take into consideration, the more precise we can be. Of course, the vast majority of the formulas out there, they use just linear regression models, and there is a significant noise. As I showed you, a noise is also the final position of the lens, and we actually have very poor control over the final position. Also, we need to take into consideration the deformability, and I will show you what I mean, because, believe me, there is some deformability both in the ciliary body and in the ICL, and it's very much difficult to be predicted. Of course, we can ask artificial intelligence, but unfortunately, ChatGPT is last updated in 2021, so it's missing some important information, such as the lens rise, which is one of the most important parameters in computing the right sizing. So briefly, what does artificial intelligence do? So instead of representing a line best fitting our data or representing a curve like in a polynomial regression, it creates trees for decision, and these are randomly created by the computer, and the computer creates thousands of those trees and then averages all together in a multi-dimensional meshwork, which is actually difficult to be imagined by the human brain. So we can statistically predict what is gonna happen. And via using artificial intelligence, namely machine learning, and the MS-39, we could increase our prediction up to 88%. So in the 88% predictions are within the range of 250 microns of accuracy. So we got an improvement of 60% compared to the Ocus formula. So these are our achieved vaulting. We measured, of course, after the surgery. And here in orange, you can see the ability we have to predict that vaulting thanks to some machine learning with data coming from the MS-39. And this is the plot. But let me show you what are the most important parameters coming into play. Of course, the most important parameters is quite obvious, is the ICL size. This makes sense. Second, the lens rise. So the measure, these metrics coming from the MS-39 is the most important parameter to be taken into consideration with OCT formulas. For instance, they use it in the Nakamura formula, and we embedded in our machine learning formula. Then we have what I call the proxies. So the scleral spur to scleral spur is just a proxy, like the white to white, like the sulcus to sulcus, because actually we are positioning the ICL into the ciliary body. And as Dan Reinstein published, it's probably more important to measure the inner diameter of the ring of the ciliary body, because that is the final housing for the ICL. And all these other parameters are coming from the MS-39. But I just wanted you to pay attention to ICL model. That means either toric or non-toric model. Why? Because, as I said earlier, the deformability of the lens changes accordingly to toric or non-toric model. And this plays, as you can see, a small but significant role in the vaulting. So we have to take into consideration the deformability of the ICL itself and the deformability of the ciliary body. So just for your curiosity, only 20% of the lenses that we implant, they go into the sulcus, and the vast majority of those lenses are hyperopic ones, probably because they are stiffer, because they are thicker in the center, and so they have a lower deformability. So with some further artificial intelligence, we can also improve the accuracy we can achieve using classifiers, giving us a discrete number of outputs. But let's go ahead with our images that are beautiful. So just to make a quick comparison, we have with the MS-39 the most comfortable and the most convenient way to measure the eye for the ICL surgery. Of course, we probably have more precise tools, such as the ultrasound, but they are way more expensive, and you need a good team of technicians to run it. Let me show you a few images from this beautiful surgery. I love the ICL. So this is an ICL which is perfectly implanted into the posterior chamber, and this is what we usually want to see the day after. But here, for example, is a case of extreme vaulting the day after. We waited 1 week. We could see some settling of the ICL, but still you can see the angle is very narrow and some edema was coming here, probably because of the modified flow of the aqueous. So of course we decided to remove the lens and to implant a new lens, a smaller size in one step. And this is the new lens in position. Still the vaulting is quite high, but over time it will become shallow. This is the opposite. So as you can see here, the ICL is resting on the crystalline lens. Actually, this case was done on purpose because we didn't have the room to put another ICL, but there was an ectopic pupil in this patient, and in this specific case, I needed a shield in order to perform some sutures in the iris to do some pupilloplasty. But let me show you a few interesting cases we can spot out with the MS-39. So the prediction for ICL surgery is not always straightforward because, as always in medicine, we have outliers. And a big group of outliers in ICL sizing is keratoconus. So for instance, this is a patient with some keratoconus in both right and left eyes, and all our predictions were wrong. Also, the predictions coming from the OCOS website was wrong, because as you can see, also in this case, the ICL is resting on the crystalline lens. So the vaulting in this case is 0 in one eye and close to 0 in the left eye. So keratoconic eyes are definitely outliers. And this is another similar case. So of course, this is an extreme keratoconus. So we didn't go ahead for the right eye, but we did for the left eye. And these are the OCT scans. So in the right eye, we had, of course, some scarring. We didn't go ahead with surgery. And in the left eye, as you can see, another outlier. So please pay attention to keratoconic eyes because they have a different anatomy in the eye, and probably also they have a different deformability. Think about the collagen modification in these eyes. So it's a topic to be better studied and better understood. This is another interesting case of very high vaulting. This was a hyperopic lens. As you can see, you can recognize the hyperopic lens from the MS-39 because in the center the lens is, you can see in the center the lens is thicker and you don't see the aquaport. And this is another scan of the same eye. So in this case, of course, we decided to remove the ICL, and this is the patient after ICL removal. This is another very interesting case. So we heard about the decomposition of the wavefront for our patients for instance, therapeutic reasons. So apparently this was a perfect case because the vaulting was 600 microns. However, there was some residual astigmatism in this patient. How does it work? Okay. Anyway, there was some residual astigmatism in this patient, as you can see here. So we did the difference between the whole wavefront and the corneal wavefront. And as you can see, the lens was decentered by 30 degrees. And we all know that there is a decrease in the toric capabilities of correction. We could fix it. We could fix it thanks to the software. And the last case I want to show you, just to better explain how important is measuring the epithelium, is this interesting case. So this patient was seeking a vision correction, but he denied any previous eye surgery. But he told us that he got a recent improvement in the vision in the left eye. Look at the pattern of the map in the left eye. It looks like a previous PRK treatment or looks like some orthokeratology. Thank you very much for your attention.